incredible book. And today we have the huge honor of welcoming two of the most remarkable women, Kathryn Otoshi and Bret Baumgarten, who are going to talk about the labor of love and journey that has become Beautiful Hands.
We just wanted to say thank you so much for coming. Again, over, I guess it's a little bit less than a year ago, we were here, and the book fills so much human emotion, right? Joy, also sadness and grief, frustration, anger even, but also, and most importantly, love. A huge love and a connection that we've all experienced, and what I've never experienced before in a book, in a single book. And I just wanted to go ahead and I could either start or you wanted to say a couple of words.
I just wanted to thank Kathryn for all her hard work. And
I thought you were talking about Kathryn Otoshi. Not yes. Yes.
Making this event happen today.
I'm not sure your mic is working.
It's up. Just really close. Just put it right up close again.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, much better.
All right. Just for helping us put this event together today. It's amazing. It's amazing. And we appreciate all of you for being here. And I hope you enjoy the book as much as we have.
Yes, it's been really amazing. And Kathryn P, because we spell our names the same way, she has just gone above and beyond, really, to help with us, just the support, not just as an indie local bookstore, which they always reach out to their community and are giving, but especially with Beautiful Hands, it's been really overwhelming, so I just wanted to do one more shout out there. I wanted to talk a little bit about Beautiful Hands and say, to me, books are like children's books. I think that they're magic. I really think that there's a magical quality about children's picture books, and I've always felt that way. What I didn't realize is when you're sitting there and you're working on a book, whether it's writing, illustrating, or any aspect of it, when you really put yourself and project into it a lot of love and energy and positive energy, I have to say, something happens. And that's what I never realized before. Something really happens when you're really connecting and have something to say. Beautiful Hands, for me, is really a beautiful co-collaboration. And I'm really careful about how I kind of talk about the book, because I really feel like it's a co-authorship, not necessarily co-writing, but co-authorship, where Bret came up with this wonderful question: what will your beautiful hands do today? And the whole thing around it that encompasses his desire to have us experience love and connection from that forward. And Beautiful Hands, for me, is symbolic for so many reasons. In all my books, I tend to think of books in general as children's picture books are a little bit more difficult than people think, or more challenging, because it's really about boiling big ideas down to its core essence. And then, of course, building in these layers of, it could be self-esteem, or issues of bullying, or prejudice, or acceptance, tolerance, and in this case, about community and love. Even in the covers, they have meaning, and this really is Noah's, Bret's son, his handprint. And there he is. And this really is Sophie. Where are you, Sophie? She's going to be mine. Handprint. And then, of course, symbolically, that represents Bret's heart. And Noah takes care of Sophie, and everything kind of comes together from that point. To be honest, I think about it, and I did not know Bret that well. As many of you in this room knew Bret so much more than me. And I'm looking at Larry and Brian, his best friends here, and Alon, who could not make it because he's over on the East Coast. But you all knew him so much more than I did. But I did get this wonderful opportunity to experience Bret. And I remember Brian introducing me to Bret, and I probably met him 6, 7, maybe 8 times before I made this offer to say, hey, what if we did a book together? But I remember that Bret was always, whenever I see him, he said it at least a couple times. He said, I've always wanted to do a kid's book. And so after he told me about his illness, I go around to schools and I talk about, what we can do with my books. And I was thinking, well, I can do something. I can do a children's book. And I said to Bret, what if we did one together for Noah and Sophie? And he leaped at that idea, and he was so excited about doing. And he just had so many different ideas about what we can do. But the one that stood out most was I found out that he would hold, especially Sophie, but hold both of his kids' hands in his and ask, "What will your beautiful hands do today?" And that really touched my heart. And he also talked about the really amazing things being a parent, about when you're looking at your baby and you see them and they're just barely able to reach out and maybe squeeze your finger. And then the amazing thing is when they reach out and they can squeeze your fingers later. And then pretty soon they're holding your hand. And then they go from holding your hand to drawing something, and then drawing something meaningful, and playing baseball or softball or dancing. And at some point you look at your child in amazement and wonder, and you think, what will you do, this beautiful spirit, do out in the world? And that's what I was getting from Bret. And these are the beginning illustrations, and I remember showing these very rough sketches, and both Bret and Deborah, this is the final here, but they were very rough. They looked like this, and I remember the first time I showed you guys, you gasped, like wow. And I was so focused in on this is just being a book for Noah and Sophie, that I really didn't see the big vision of it being a bigger book. This was truly, a book, a single book that I saw for a friend. And we started collaborating together with the handprints and getting messy together and having fun. But you can see how delighted Bret is. But we all just had a great time together. And this book has been so different for me because it's such a solo experience when I do a book. But in all aspects of Beautiful Hands, I really feel like, I became a part of your family, and I didn't expect that. So just with the illustrations going forward with it, what will your beautiful hands do today? Before I read it, Noah and Sophie's hands, they were very specifically picked for this page, for obvious reasons, for the question. And planting, and I know Deborah will talk more about this, but really trying to pay attention to whose hands are in there, who plants the seeds. And Deborah's like, can you mention Mocha in this and all? So I remember this is planting ideas. When I do talk to kids too, it's so much about someone comes up with an idea. It could be anything. It could be a fundraiser, or it could be like, hey, let's have a school garden. But someone plants the idea, and just to let kids know that that's something that is put out there, but somebody then afterwards you get a school garden because someone puts the effort behind it. So this book is truly a call to action book in every aspect, where you'll notice as I'm going through the pages, the movement gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes a question for you to move forward with what your beautiful hands can do. But if you could see Mocha's handprint, because Mocha is part of the Baumgarten family. Right here and right here. And Deborah, I remember she rushed over. She's like, "Can Mocha get in there?" And she gets Mocha, and she's like painting his paw print, and it was really awesome. And the question becomes, looking closely at what you can touch, and saying to kids, if you do something meaningful for somebody, you touch their hearts. And the interesting thing is pretty much by the third spread, they start getting the concept that it's not just about the physical action. You can lift boxes, sure, you can lift a book, but you can lift beyond that. You can lift spirits, or you can stretch imaginations or minds or friendships. And every single handprint in here is the Baumgarten's family and my own. And the idea too of just really using every aspect of the handwritten type and textures of the hands. And I do tell kids, when you look physically at your hands, it's just like a thumbprint. It's completely unique. It's completely yours. And I saw hundreds of your handprints go into this book, and I was amazed at how different and unique and special they are. And when Bret and I talked about what can you reach for, we talked about you could reach for truth or peace or dreams, and Bret said love. Most of all, this book is about love and about my love for my family, my friends, and so this book is about love. And symbolically, that is Bret, and put a little bit of us in there, but that's Deb right there, and that's me over there, and that's Noah and Sophie. I don't know if they even knew that, but
I knew that.
you knew that. Of course you knew that. You know everything. So you reach for love and for peace, truth, faith, hope, and dreams. And then the question goes back to you. And of course, and for those of you who don't know the full story, is Bret has this huge vision, a vision beyond mine, and he wanted to make this a really big book. And he said to me, I can't wait to see this in bookstores all across America. And I was like, I looked at him really like, I said, well, we need to do a fundraiser. And he said, let's do a fundraiser. And he just like went with it. And so, some of you were there, at the fundraiser where just said, Deb's home. All Bret's family, friends, and some of mine too came over. And we celebrated. And, we have fundraisers at the school, but this was a fundraiser for a different reason. And we said, for $100, which is a lot of money, you would get a poster, you would get a book, but you would also get your handprint forever in this book, in this rainbow. So when you look closely at the hearts, if you look closely at the way this all kind of leads together, the spirits, you can see it's all of your spirits, but I think, of course, Bret's spirit. And when you see love and the hearts, remember it goes back to touching hearts and it being released out into the world, and you can see the heart, how it branches out to all these really wonderful things, and it goes back to the question. So you can see a beautiful spirit flying into tomorrow over handprints of loving family and friends. So I'm going to go ahead and read the book, but before I do, I just wanted to let you know I've gone to 3 schools already to spread this message of love and connection that beautiful Bret Baumgarten had. And here's me trying to figure things out. I say things all the time, like I do that. I'll be like, yeah, I'll just make this giant bird out of kids' handprints, and it'll be great. And I do this stuff, but then I'm like in my hotel room, and I'm like, what did I just do? Like, this is insane. I don't know what I'm doing. And then I have to pull it out and figure it out. But then, I started figuring it out. I'm like, we can make this. And I told, the schools to make these handprints. And each kid makes their handprint, and, they have a meaning behind it, like, what will you do? And then they could either verbally say it, or it's a, commitment just to themselves, and then they sign their names, right? And so, and then here's me saying, I'm going to do this thing. Little do they don't know that I don't know what I'm doing. And then I really just started putting this thing together. Wow. And you can see how it's just sort of coming together, putting these handprints. And also teaching kids the bigger level vision of when we work together and what can happen.
It's beautiful.
We can lift each other's spirits and be a part of a community. It's big, huh? And this one is hanging. I just got back from Connecticut. This one's hanging up in a library in Connecticut, and there's some of the kids by it. And I just wanted to go back, and I mean this. The biggest thing that I got from this book, I wasn't expecting, was a family. And Deborah's always welcomed me into her family. And I said recently, because I do talk to Bret, and I talked to him about my frustrations too. And I'm like, God, Bret, this is so hard. You have no idea how hard this is. And I'll hear him saying, sorry. Sorry, it's okay.
He'd probably say, deal with it.
Oh, really? Yeah, deal with it. Okay, you didn't do that to me, but he was always like, Kale,
Jay said that to
he would always say it to me because he was sweet to me. And then I would also hear him, when things were really great, I would hear him saying like, yes, Kale, you know, and this really energetic thing. And I started talking to Bret with everything about the book, with the joys and the frustrations and everything. And I wanted to give an acknowledgement, someone who couldn't be here but who's been a huge part of the book getting launched is Publishers Group West, my distributor. And we have Susan McConnell here, and also Heather Cameron, who've been with me from the start. And I just wanted to say, Heather, she had someone, her significant other, pass away, and I know she won't mind me saying this because it's so inspirational. She said, whenever I look outside and I think of Rick, I think I see Rick and I hear him talking to me. And because of the rainbow, and Heather said this to me before I did that presentation, she said, you will never believe this, Kathryn, but today I saw a rainbow. And I'm like, Heather, it's not even raining. How can you possibly see a rainbow? She says, I know, but that's Bret. So that was really amazing, and I do feel like we see things out there, and I do feel like he is here with us today. Should I go ahead and do a reading, Kevin?
Sure.
Okay. So all of you kids, just go ahead and stay in your seat. We're going to do a reading, and this is what I do exactly in schools. So I'm going to do a reading of beautiful hands. So kids and adults, if you want to join in, feel free. But kids here, go ahead and hold your hands out like a book, and take a look at them. And I want you to notice how beautiful your hands are and what they can do, the potential that you hold in your hands. And I'm going to ask this question: what will your beautiful hands do today? Will they plant? What are things that you can plant? What are things that you can plant? Okay, I'm not going to choose Noah and Sophie because they know. What do you think? Tristan? Charlotte, do you have any ideas? What are things that you can plant? Anything. No wrong answer.
You can plant a rose.
You can plant a rose. What do you think, Tristan? What else can you plant? Anything. Putting you on the spot. We can plant seeds, right? Or trees? All those things. Well, we could also plant ideas, right? Of course you knew that. You can plant ideas. Or touch. Remember when you do something meaningful for somebody? Well, I can move this along so that... Okay, go ahead. You can touch hearts, all right. So thinking beyond the box when you do something meaningful. You can lift. What are things that you can lift? What do you think, Ben? What can you lift? Anything is good. Yes, you can say the answer. You can lift spirits. Whoa, how did you come up with that? You haven't been here before. Or stretch. What are things that you can stretch? All right, Noah, go ahead.
Imagination.
You can stretch imaginations. or minds, or friendship, or dreams. And you can reach, or what did you remember? Yeah, go ahead, Ben. For love, right. Reach for love. And it's interesting because kids will just be shouting out all different things, and they start coming up with ideas that I would never come up with myself. For love and for, of course, peace, truth, faith, hope, and dreams. And so what will your beautiful hands do tomorrow is what I ask kids across the country. And so kids across the country will be making these spirit birds to talk about community and how we can all work together.
Thank you, Kathryn. It's just Today I would like to tell you a little bit about my wonderful husband, Bret Baumgarten. Well, of course, the inspiration behind the book was Bret's desire to empower his children to use their little hands every day to do big things. But recently, while paging through the book, of course I'm biased, it occurred to me that this book, whether intended or not, is actually a book about Bret Baumgarten, who he is, his philosophy of life, his priorities, and how he chose to live his life. As I page through each of these works of art, many emotions and memories are evoked in me. Kathryn has so artfully woven the theme of who Bret is into the book, and then leaves a message with us to ultimately do large and meaningful things. When I think about this book in a concrete and tangible way, I think about Bret's extraordinary large hands. Not only were his hands large, but they were also very warm and had a healing quality to them. The type of hands that he would place on someone's aching neck to heal their pain, or a baby's belly to calm its colic. They were also the most capable hands you have ever seen. There was nothing he couldn't build, create, or repair with them. It makes me think of how he single-handedly wired our entire hillside backyard on his own without any formal electrical training. His motto was, "Nothing is impossible as long as you put your mind to it and your heart into it." Oops, sorry. As I page through this book, I'm struck by the presence of a large handprint that intermittently appears on the pages in the background, or is it in the foreground, I wonder. I suddenly realize that this is Bret's so capable hand guiding us through these beautiful, colorful images. And immediately I want to ask Kathryn, was that intentional? Ironically, Bret was a lover of all animals and had a special affinity for reptiles and birds. I'm not sure if Kathryn realized this as she created these incredible concepts in her spreads. There was not an animal, insect, or bird he, when given the opportunity, wouldn't try to touch or hold. From a young age, he immersed himself in nature. His favorite thing to do was to catch lizards, salamanders, snakes, and frogs. There were many times that I watched him capture a lizard or gecko, hold it gently in his hand, and stroke its belly. The creature would always immediately calm and almost become hypnotized by his gentle touch. One day, while mountain biking, we encountered a gopher or grass snake. Bret, to my horror, immediately reached out and grabbed the creature, allowing it to crawl up his arm. When I finally convinced him to let it go, the snake would hear nothing of it and continued to crawl up and down his arm to prevent him from setting it free. It was at that moment that I realized there was something really unique about him. And I realized what an extraordinary person he was. I'd never experienced anything like this. I then turn to the page with the bird, and I become so overwhelmed with what I see. Why is this happening? Suddenly my mind is drawn to the evening when Bret saw a mourning dove sitting on his car. As he gradually approached the car, the bird surprisingly did not fly away. Instead, it stayed still. Bret immediately suspected that it was injured and reached out toward it. It did not budge. He grabbed it gently but firmly in his hands and held it with confidence. He soon realized that in fact it was not injured, and as he loosened his grasp, it slowly opened his wings. I then remember him lifting the bird up into the air and watching it fly away. Crazy. That's just not what healthy birds do. My mind is immediately drawn to the spirit bird. How did Kathryn know he loved birds? What made her decide to use this bird with its large, colorful, and wide-reaching wingspan, and that it should carry his beautiful message of love and kindness for all living creatures? Bret was all about relationships and bonding with others, but also connecting people, whether it was for work, if it was work-related or a social reason. He derived so much joy from helping people, making them happy, or simply bringing a smile to their face. His dynamic personality, large smile, and big bear hugs were infectious. He was the life and soul of every party, social gathering, and interaction. But he was also an ideas guy, always inventing, always creating, always thinking outside the box, constantly stretching his imagination. I'm not sure if anybody realized that he actually had many patents in his name, both in his work and his personal life. However, with all these qualities, his priority was love. He loved receiving it, but he also had so much to give. While his life may have been cut short, it was one of those lives that was lived largely and full. It could only be a life like this that could be inspired to leave us with this beautiful message, to open our minds and hearts and souls, to unlock the great potential that we hold, to promote change for the better in our lives, in those of our families and friends, in our communities, and ultimately in the world which we are privileged to exist. May you all leave here today thinking about how you can get Bret's message out there and what wonderful acts of love and kindness you can do for the world. Even if this simply means stopping what you're doing to take your child's hand in yours and ask them, what will your beautiful hands do today? That would mean a lot.
We'd like to now ask a couple of Bret's best friends to say a few words about their memories and the joy of being with him. So if Larry Albuquerque, if you could please step up here.
First, that was an incredibly hard act to follow. There's not a lot I can say to really convey, how special Bret was, especially after Deborah. But I guess I can give a little insight. Instead of what can your beautiful hands do today or tomorrow, I could tell you what they did yesterday. Well, more specifically, before he had kids. And I can tell you that, well, some things I can't tell you, but the things I can tell you, the things I can tell you are that, all those things, all his philosophies were exactly the same. And then marrying Deborah and having Nora and Sophie were just made him, such a complete person. So I'll just tell a couple of little stories about his hands. In fact, the first time I really noticed his hands, we become friends, and he said, "Hey, well, you want to go get a beer?" And I said, "Sure." And he put this beer down. Wow, those big hands. Made the beer look small, but it wasn't. We had a lot of beers. But that really served the friendship, and that was those special hands, special beers. Another time we went camping, and we were way out in the Tahoe, got lost, and Bret and I it was pitch black. We couldn't even see our hands in front of our faces. We heard it started snowing. We were in our shorts. It was the middle of the summer. We heard pigs chasing us. And And anyway, we finally pitched a tent. The light, well, we were too scared to have two separate tents, so we kind of sleep in the tent, all next to each other, two separate. Same little tent, and like finally the light came up, and but I woke up and I was incredibly sick. I got a fever at like 112 or something. I was just I could barely see straight. I could barely walk. And his hands literally picked me up and all my stuff and brought me back 5 miles back to civilization, or at least back to the car. And we made it back, but that was that was very.
I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah, no, I was
story.
like, I couldn't move. He literally was like carrying me back.
Wow.
And then you know, we'd go surfing a few times a week, and he had this gigantic surfboard, and my board was a little bit smaller, but we'd have to walk all the way across Ocean Beach. It was really heavy and windy, and we had to go really far. So he would always carry the big board for me because he needed a big board. He was a really good surfer, and I wasn't as good, so I need the big board. He'd take the smaller board. That's how it works in surfing. You have a big board, not as good. So, but he would always carry the big board because he had these big, giant, strong hands. And that one, I don't know if it was about friendship or compassion or just, reminding me that he was big and strong and his hands could crush me. But those were special times, and just hanging out on the water. And then the last hand story was that I remember him just telling me once he got married and had kids, and said it's just like such an amazing special thing. And anyway, then I wound up following suit and getting married, and he signed our ketubah, and it's his hands that signed the ketubah, and I think that was the everlasting love part where I get to see his signature every day in our whole life. So yeah.
Thank you.
That's my little insights of Bret, and then we pass them along. Anyway.
So Brian Flora is going to say a few words, also one of Bret's best friends. Thank you, Brian.
It's an honor to be here today to witness the release of this book and to see my two favorite people, Bret and Kathryn, come together to create such a wonderful gift to all of us. I've said this, I've told this story before, so apologize for saying it again to some of you who have heard it. Bret was a best friend, and by this what I mean is he actively took on the role of being best friend, and to him it's something he chose to do deliberately. And I remember meeting him for the first time through our mutual friend Alon at a brunch, and I think I had met him when we were kids, but this was some years later. We were in our 20s, and Bret, I had remember Alon talking about him, and he was sort of a party guy, and he was a water polo player, and used to get into a lot of fun trouble, and heard all these stories about him. Anyway, so we sat down and had this nice long brunch, and I just kept looking over at him, and he kept looking at me with this big smile that's like, and he would, and in any case, we had this breakfast, and then he just said, "We gotta hang out," and it was when I look back, it's such a funny thing, because I was a shy artist, and he was this kind of boisterous, enthusiastic, water polo player. And we've gone on to have this great friendship. And it occurs to me now, seeing all the people that have come together from his life, how deliberate he is about that. And I really think at that brunch he was looking at me and trying to decide, is this person worthy of being a friend? And I think he decides to be your friend, and then he follows through, connects you with himself and the rest of the world. And I think that's that's one of the things that's so wonderful about him as a person. In any case, it's fantastic to see this book come out. And what Deborah was saying earlier, I thought the same thing coming over here. I thought he's telling all of us to look at what we're going to do that's meaningful during the day, and it occurred to me that's what he did. So let's see here. I have some words also to read from our mutual friend Alon. Alon writes, "From the time that I met Bret over 30 years ago, he was always coming up with exciting entrepreneurial ideas, whether it was the water polo stickers he sold in high school, his revolutionary bike lock, or a pain management concept for people battling cancer that he told me about last October. As everyone knows, he was also passionate about helping others and bringing people together. He was a connector. Well, he outdid himself this time by combining his creative skills with his caring and inspiring nature. His vision has become a reality. Bret and Kathryn have produced a jaw-droppingly beautiful book that is such a magical gift. Whenever a friend, a total stranger, or one of his beautiful children reads it, Bret's energy, his light, and his love will always come shining through."
We're going to be doing a toast, but I just wanted to say about how we've all reached towards each other. I'm so excited, everybody in this room, who has special meaning to both me and Deborah and Bret, and we're so honored. I'm so honored to be doing this book and continuing on this message about love and connection. And I just wanted to say one of the things that I've never experienced before in a book was really about doing a book. I've never had the opportunity to do a book before where the message and all of your intention are actually embedded in the artwork, where all of you have put your hands in there with this intention of doing good things, and it's there. And then it's going to be spread out into the world. And it reflects so aptly the message. So I guess what I'm saying, the actual production and the making of the book, I've never had it reflect the message so aptly. So I think you're going to read this quote from your husband.
But before I do, I just wanted to thank Bret for the gift of friendship that I have developed with you, Kathryn. You are literally part of our family, and you'll be part of our family forever. This is an amazing gift.
I feel the same way.
Thank you. Thank you. My hope is that this book empowers creativity, compassion, love, and a connection to you and yours in the fulfilling and remarkable way it has for me, Bret Baumgarten.
So we're going to now do a toast, and we could just, since we're all sitting down, we unless you have your glasses, which would be even better. Do a toast. If you can go ahead and lift up your glasses, a celebration to. Oh, I don't drink.
Just go to the bottom.
I have something. Yes, I have this. To a beautiful story, a beautiful book, and a beautiful life. Cheers. Thank you all so much for coming. And I do have a couple surprises that I just wanted to give if Kathryn Petrocelli is around. Oh, there she is. I just wanted to say, Kathryn. I wanted to give this to you because you do exactly this. You, with not just the bookstore, but the stories and your love, you connect this community with Book Passage. So please accept this on behalf of Jerry. Absolutely.
There's already one of your books in Switzerland. I already sent it to my friends.
Wow, that's great. Deborah, dear, I just wanted to give this as a gift from me to say thank you for having me be a part of your wonderful family. I think we're going to end this presentation now, but if any of you have questions or afterwards or would just like to say anything more, we're actually ending early, which is really amazing. We're thinking that we're going to be under the gun, but Noah, you have questions? Do you have something to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Toast.
A toast? Okay, a toast. Another toast. All right. I think he just really wanted to drink that Martinelli.
Cheers. Cheers.
Noah.
Here's everyone in this room.
Thank you. And then books. I'll be helping to sign books, I guess.
Outside.
Outside?
Yeah.
Okay. In the other room. So again, thank you. If you brought your nameplates, you can go ahead and pick up your books. And for those of you who'd like to support the book, please do so. And I'll be out there with Deborah signing books.
Thank you, Kathryn.
Thank you.